everyone. We had an exciting event happen recently. We were asked to speak at the National Yacht Club in Toronto, Canada, about our experiences as a sailing family. During the winter, the club hosts a guest speaker for their weekly series called Sailor Nights. Previous speakers included Olympic sailors, Clipper Around the World racers, and the Sail Grand Prix team of Canada. So when we were asked to join and participate, we were super excited and felt very honored. Of course, we had to do the presentation virtually, but we still packed in as much information as we could about all the aspects of our sailing journey. This presentation was recorded and we got permission to share it all with you guys. So we hope you really enjoyed it, and let's get straight to it.
Hello, everybody.
It's wonderful to see all of you. Thank you so much for having us, ladies and gentlemen. And I think we should start by introducing ourselves. My name is Anastasia. This is Grant, my father, my mom, Irina, and my older sister, Aliona. We have been living on our boat, Song of the Sea, for the last almost 5 years. We started in the Caribbean, and we've spent around 2 years there, circling up and down around the islands. It is actually a beautiful place, and it was a great area to start off our story before we started embarking on much longer passages later on. And then we crossed the Panama Canal to go to the Pacific Ocean from the Atlantic. And now we are currently exploring French Polynesia. We have had many long passages, like we crossed the equator on our way to Galapagos. And now we're, like I said, exploring places like Tahiti and just having such a blast in those tropical areas. So now my father can tell you a little bit about us and our backstory.
Yep. So our backstory is I immigrated from Armenia when I was 19. My wife immigrated from Russia when she was 19, but she was a year later or 2 years later after me. We met in the United States, and we got married. Since I was 5 years old, I always dreamed of sailing the world. Even though Armenia doesn't have sea, it was something that is fascinating. I would read Jules Verne and several other books about the ocean. So long story short, we would always create dream boards, and I would always dream of one day we're going to sail the world. There was always a boat on my dream board, and
so I've been hearing it for almost 25 years. And when Grant was turning 45, I told him, this someday we always talk about it, but we never even been on a catamaran or on a sailing boat. So why don't we go and check it out and see? So that's led us to first time to get a room on a charter boat, which had a skipper and a mate. And we spent a week in magical BVI, and it was our first experience. And we truly fell in love with the water, with the sea. And the very next year, we took the girls to their first adventures to St. Vincent and Grenadine, and the dream got more solidified. We started talking about possibly learning how to, sail.
Yeah. And in 2018, I sold my company, and in 2019, I was talking to a coworker. Now, keep in mind, I didn't know anybody who were sailor, or we live inland in Riverside, so no sailor experience around us. So I was talking on a conference to a guy, and he's like, I started picking his brain, and he's like, yeah, there is an organization called ASA, American Sailing Association, and you can take lessons. So that night in the hotel room, I booked ourselves some lessons, and we started learning. Four of us went in Newport Beach and started learning. And later that year, we became a member on a catamaran, so we can practice a little more with a catamaran. Go ahead.
And keep in mind that time there's not even a thought about the full-time life. Maybe when we retire, but not truly, seriously, when we're not ready. And then the life-changing experience happened when we were sitting down with our financial advisors and trying to figure it out for the future after Grant finalization of selling the company. And the financial advisors were talking about regret, how a lot of people in their elderly years regret not to, and of course they were talking about not to set up bad of their portfolio, not to be prepared for whatever. And we looked at each other and we thought, we're going to regret not to have our big adventure. And the decision was made that moment almost that we want to take a few years and get the boat and have our adventures while we're still young. And then the next step, we start going to different shows, looking about learning and about the boats, differences between. We did decide that catamarans is how we wanted to go, and
And
yeah,
we
and then it was time for us to talk to the kids because they were not ready about it. And the conversation, how did it go, girls?
Well, at first, I don't know about Anastasia, but I had a few reservations about dropping, normal school life and going onto a boat. But then COVID hit. And, the world locks down when there is a giant pandemic. So I could either be stuck at home, no friends, or be stuck on a boat and be able to move the boat from different islands and explore. So I made the decision fairly quickly and we went on the boat. Yes.
and Anastasia wanted to get on the boat pretty much from the beginning.
Oh yeah, I always loved it. So yes, we bought the boat, got the keys, and now it was time to start exploring. Our people told us we were crazy, but what we really were excited to do was explore the world and various cultures. We wanted to meet new people and see other ways of life. We also wanted to adventure into the unknown with so many different natures all around us. We wanted to really expand our mind of what is possible and to, of course, learn so many new things. So now, talking about learning, we had to figure out how we were going to get an education. And Papa was the one who did that.
And it was a tough subject in the beginning because both Grant and I were, he was building his business, I was building career in real estate, and the girls were going to school. We had no experience of homeschool, never truly understood how it works, and we were timed really to look into it. Luckily for me, for us, I had a good friend who were homeschooling for years, and so I sat down with her and she helped me to pick the curriculum. And the girls were at the time, Anastasia was in the middle school, Alyona in high school, so it
She
was
was 12 and she was 14.
Yep, just starting high school.
Yep.
so it was a critical time in the learning. So it was very important to create a plan that was giving them a really good education, but also workable on the boat. And fortunately, there are so many great programs that really can be tailored to the kids. And we found a fantastic one that worked out. And the girls learned so much and they became pretty independent. And I believe it gave them so many great skills, not only to learn their information, but how to be flexible with that, how to, uh, you know, really to work it in your busy lives. And a good perk of living on a boat, the field trips were absolutely unbelievable. We were able to see history unfolded right in front of us in the amazing places that we visited and really take it home for them, the geography and the history and different cultures of the people and how it's all tied in together. So I think homeschool is a great thing. For example,
At this very same time that I was reading in my history book about the Panama Canal, we were actually there. And
Going
so
through the Panama Canal.
and so it was always great to really see how the history books and everything that we were learning in school could apply sometimes to actually
And
where
come
we were
alive.
going in the boat life.
That was awesome. Yeah, as I mentioned, I started high school on the boat. I did all 4 years of high school at Song of the Sea Academy, and I graduated last year. And I really enjoyed boat schooling because it really, as I mentioned, it taught us flexibility in how we can go from one thing to another quite quickly, so I need to learn how to plan out my days so to accommodate both school and exploring. So that really came in handy with college nowadays, where I'm enrolled in college online, and every day I have, or every week I have to plan out my days. So now I have a lot of experience on that because of my boat school, which gave me 18 college credits before I even entered college, because we were able to choose choose courses that would give me college credit.
Mhm.
And I am very thankful for my mom for making that all happen.
So now she's studying business administration
Mhm.
in CBU.
Mhm. And also, when it came to homeschooling, the first concern that most people came to us with was about how in the world we were going to socialize. But actually, the boat life really grew all of our self confidences when it came to socializing, because we had to get used to constantly meeting new people and to be able to make friends with any kids, no matter what their ages were, what their backgrounds were. And it also made us get really used to group situations with a lot of adults too. Plus, since I was learning Spanish at the time, I would often practice with local people on these islands in my technically third language, which was Spanish. So talking to others in for hours and making friends with people in a language that is not your first really helped me grow my confidence, and also got me more used to meeting people all over and practicing my languages.
Yeah.
Yeah, making friends, and we have a lot of practice now with making new friends and maintaining these relationships long distance. So we often call our extended family like almost every day. I also have regular calls with some of my friends, and we can have them visit sometimes as well. We actually got a larger boat than what we'd need for the four of us, so we could have friends and family visit and enjoy these experiences with us. We absolutely love having visitors. I even was able to have my friends come over. These are my friends from middle school, and they came over and we had a blast. But that said, a lot of the times it is just us four on this boat doing this amazing adventure.
And being four of us on the boat, it's have its blessings and its challenges. The biggest blessings that we are for together, and we have experiences that uh, a lot of families don't have. That we can grow together, we explore, we spend a lot of time together. Um, we discuss a lot of things. We learn, we challenge ourselves. So going out of the comfort zone. We're a great team. On the boat, we all have our certain tasks that we usually perform, but we try to learn each other tasks so we can help each other and understand what we're each coming from to. And it takes a lot of practice. When we started, it was rough. We really had to learn and to understand and to it was challenging. We had to find the way to communicate to each other, to encourage each other, and but we truly became a smooth team. And it's very nice when we can get a compliment sometimes from the people, like, oh, when we're dark or they see us doing something, like, oh, you guys are a really good team, and bring us such a joy to do that. Obviously, we play a lot together. We have time to spend this time together, and conversation and hikes and exploration. As I said, it's a really cool thing just to goof off with each other and really spending this time. When we have birthday celebrations, we celebrate each other. We quite often go on back to California to do the celebrations together with our families. But most of the time, we're just here and we find the way to make it really special for each other. And it's really cool. We're really enjoying it. However, being that tight on the boat all the time, it can bring its own challenges. Huh?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely when we start to have arguments, we can't just go out for a drive or distance ourselves. Since we're on such a small boat, we definitely have to focus so much on conflict resolution of understanding each other's point of views and coming to a solution that benefits all of us and really growing as individuals and as a family. And one of the things that we discuss a lot is where to go with the boat, how our destinations and how to get there.
It's a big subject. Papa, why don't you handle it?
It's his
Oh.
department.
That's my department. So we
That
we
doesn't-
like splitting our responsibilities into different areas. But when we plan where to go, obviously, we look at different cruiser guides. We look at the map. We look at the weather. Weather is very important. And initially, when we were in Caribbean, the planning was quite simple. You know, during COVID time, which countries are open, which islands are open, uh, how do we get there? What's the weather looking like? And the cruiser guides were super helpful when it came to understanding what do we want to see. Another area that was very helpful is local knowledge. There are some websites, really good websites, for example, Noonsite, that talks about different formalities, how to check in, how to check out, how do you move within the country, for instance. Some countries would require you to get a document before you leave first port to go to the next port, so to speak, destination porting. Other countries could care less. You can go wherever you want to, as long as you check out, if they care if you check out, but it's very important. Another really good website and tool was called No Foreign Land, and that one would allow us to figure out what's there to see. Where can we drop an anchor? Where do we go? Where is a dinghy dock, for example? Which restaurant is open for the cruisers, or who likes the cruisers in the first place? All of that was very helpful in terms of local knowledge. Weather is extremely important, as you know. So really good resources are Predict Wind and Windy, give us the knowledge of what's happening around us. Most of the time, they are quite accurate. Sometimes they are not. And for example, we also subscribed in Caribbean for Chris Parker's daily updates, and we were members of his meteorological updates. And also, when it came for us to do the passages to Galapagos or from Galapagos to French Polynesia, we hired him to give us a custom path, because he would verify the routes, he would verify the weathers, look much deeper than just this couple of websites do, and he would guide us which way to go, which was really cool. We enjoyed
Very
our
helpful.
passage tremendously. And then in areas like Caribbean, vast majority of territory is quite well documented on your chart plotters. But when it comes to French Polynesia, Galapagos, etc., there are many places that are not even charted. So it's very, very important not to only, we cannot trust our chart plotters. So there are a couple of apps. One is called OpenCPN, and several borders have created different satellite maps that we can use with the OpenCPN and actually look at where is the reefs, where can we go, what are the entrances, etc. Because it's a wild west here in French Polynesia. Or for instance, in Las Perlas in Panama, you would think that Panama is quite well documented. There is a reef right in the middle of one of the big islands, and it's not documented on any chart, but yet you can see it right there. And we almost ran our dinghy aground over there in the middle of the bay. So it's super important to kind of know what you have, what would be your next destination, and then obviously the customs of checking in, checking out, and actually the actual passages. And also we needed to become self-reliant, because it's one thing when you are near the area that has a lot of chandleries, it has a lot of repair shops. It's another area if you are on a passage for 22 days, for example, and you need to be able to fix anything without anybody's help. So we've become electricians, plumbers, mechanics, seamstress. Irina is sewing the sails, etc. So it's really cool, and it creates a really good camaraderie in the family, which is really cool. The girls are cleaning the bilge right in that picture, Yeah. Go ahead.
I was just saying Papa was in the engine compartments. He's become very proficient with, checking the engines, doing services on them. It's really impressive.
Yeah, thank you. And then obviously repairs are super important. We try to keep our boat in top shape, and as our passages became longer and longer, and as the distances became like our first passage was an overnight from St. Martin, so from St. Thomas to St. Martin.
And we were
It was
freaking out.
it was freaky, it was scary. Then it was a little longer passages, then it longer passages. So to a point where we had to prepare our boat to be completely self-sufficient. The water makers needed to work. We had to have extra parts for the repairs if we need to. On one of the passages, so we installed extra solar panels. So we had before we went from Aruba to Panama, we had about 2,000 watts of solar. And then what we realized that, when you're going west, half of your day, you're shading the solar panels on the back.
With the sail.
So once we got to Panama, I had ordered different panels for for the front of the boat. So we installed actually another 1,000 watts of solar. And, or for instance, when we were going downwind, when you are in Caribbean going beam reach to the wind, you don't need to deal with going downwind most of the time. But when you are going from, for example, Grenada to Aruba, or from Aruba to Panama, or going from Panama or Galapagos to French Polynesia, you're going pretty much downwind, and it's extremely uncomfortable to be on a catamaran, mainsail and jib. So what we did, we invested in a parasail, in an Oxley Levante, which is a fabulous sail, and it allows us to move freely, and we love that sail.
Yep.
In little wind, almost to no wind, we're able to use that. But that creates challenges. Shade is a challenge, so more solar panels were very helpful. And also being able to, because you are passing oceans, you might not be in control of the weather. Obviously, you cannot, once you leave, the weather can come and sneak up on you, because you only might have 5 or 6 days of advance notice. So what we did, we prepared our boat, we purchased a drogue. So in case we get into very nasty weather, we can deploy our drogue and actually slow ourselves down, because, once the waves become dramatically bigger than what the boat is designed for, you can flip over in a catamaran, and there is no way back to unflip. So a drogue would prevent that from happening. So we had to prepare our boat for almost anything that
And
can
majority
happen.
of the time, their passages taught us a lot, because when we started, as you already understood, we did not have much of experience, and you try to get as much theory knowledge as possible, going to the classes, reading through the books, but it's never going to replace the hands-on knowledge. Like when one of those passages, we had the small valve leak a little bit, and we end up with no water on the second day of the 4-day passage. And we had to figure it out, how in the world we're going to deal with it. Thank God we were prepared in the way that we had a little bit extra water. We had
Jerry cans.
in the jerry cans, and we had to improvise with washing the dishes with the salty water, because normally we do it with the fresh water. But it showed us that we need to be more vigilant with the water, be more prepared with the water maker. Oh, actually, the challenge became that the reason that we could not make water, because it was overcast and the solar panels were not enough to produce it, and we did not have enough of backup system of electricity to run the water maker.
And the generator would flip the switch, so there was a short because something got wet. It was a wiring issue that later I discovered what the problem was. So you need to be prepared, because you only can count on yourself. With that said, the boating community is spectacular. When we were doing our passage from Galapagos, we headed off to go to Easter Island, and 2 days later, our autopilot broke and we were hand steering. And after trying to repair it, even though I had a brain of autopilot, that wasn't the issue. I had the problem with one of the pumps because we have a hydraulic system. The boater community started reaching out because they were keeping an eye on us, and they're like, well, we're seeing that you guys are drifting. What's wrong? What's going on? So it was super, super helpful when you are communicating with people. You meet great boaters. Everybody's trying to help you with anything that can go wrong. They will help you over the phone. A lot of people come help you if you are in their area. So it's a really cool community with the boaters.
So
Yeah, with that said, our longest passage ever was 22 days from Galapagos to Marquesas. No stops, unable to see land the entire time, but it was absolutely beautiful. Nature there, and especially the skies, is absolutely out of this world. And it's very peaceful, which most people don't expect. But the middle of the ocean can be very rocky, but it can also be very, very calm at times too. And birds follow us. So even thousands of miles away from any shore, there will be birds and creatures around us, which is also very heartwarming.
Yeah, we're not alone.
Yeah.
They come on our boat, they sit on our solar panels, we say hi, and then they poop on the solar panels, and we have to clean it up.
Part of daily boat
go
life.
to war trying to show them off.
Yeah.
By the way, this is a night picture of the moon. How amazing. Look at that. Spectacular.
I absolutely love pulling all-nighters on the long passages.
Yeah.
Speaking of long passages, it's interesting to me how it went from long passage, 1 night, 3 nights, 5 nights, 7 nights, 21. 20, I can't do
29
it. I
nights.
can't. My hands are free.
Yeah.
Yes. But now, of course, once we get to the island, it's really important to check in.
And checking in and out of their different places can be very, very different. For example, in Caribbean, it was much easier in most of the places. Sometimes you can just come in, go to the cafe, they have a computer, you put a little bit of the information while you're sipping your coffee, you're done. Sometimes you need to go to their special authority offices and check in there. On some of the islands would require you to send the information prior that you are arriving. For example, in Galapagos, that was a big process. We needed to start months in advance and fill out tons of information. We needed to do huge amount of preparation work on the boat itself. Like we needed to do a fumigation. We need to clean the bottom of the boat. We need to do it professionally, provide the documentation that it was done properly. And when we come in, we had 10 people on our boat checking every inch of the boat. It was quite intimidating. And they, as I said, they checked everything inside, they checked out, for example, and we knew this information in advance that they're not allowed to bring beef to the island somehow. And the beef that we had a little bit, they taped in our freezer so we cannot use the beef while we're in Galapagos. We were able to buy beef on the island, which was good. And the one that I brought with us from Panama, we could use on our big passage to Marquesas. But that's one of the requirements. So it's very important to learn what is the requirements of the country, so you are not surprised and don't have to deal with all last minute, because there were people that we've heard of that were turned away from the island and they were not allowed to check in because they didn't follow the rules. So that is very, very important. And also important to find out about their visa requirements. For us, with our US passports, we can check in with no problem to most of the countries. However, if we want to stay for the longer period of time, we do need to go through the process of getting a long stay visa. And for some countries, like French Polynesia, for example, we again had to do it months in advance. We had to, while we were in Panama, we went to the embassy and we submitted the paperwork. It was a very big list of the paperwork that we needed to submit. It included our bank statements to prove that we can sustain ourselves while we're going to be on the islands. We needed to provide the medical insurance information, a lot of different statements, and including that the girls on on school, and they're not going to be asked to go to the local school. So it was quite intense, and it took months to get the visas. But because we went through this process prior, now we're enjoying a long staying in French Polynesia, and we feel that it's really worth it to do it. And also very important to learn in advance what it's required, because it is changing every time, the requirements. So but it's available online, and you can find out this information.
Yeah, Noonside is a really good resource. And then there are a bunch of WhatsApp groups with the boaters that boaters talk to each other about stuff.
Yes, but doing all of this complicated visa and paperwork stuff is worth it. You can go and see the crazy animals and fauna there. Galapagos, where we had this crazy 10 people on our boat thing, it was awesome because there were sea lions everywhere, penguins just swimming around. They had these extra requirements because it was a national park, and they were saving the animals, and you could really tell because the animals were just comfortable with us. So that was definitely worth all of the
Hassle.
all the hassle. I also absolutely love seeing waterfalls everywhere you go. They can be differently colored, they can be tall, wide, thin, just so many different waterfalls and other natural things. And
And
and seeing people is also
Other-
fabulous.
favorite thing that we love to do during our travels, and to get to know the local people. One of our favorite ways that we meet people is when we come to the island, we'll visit the local church and we mingle, and usually people are super welcoming there and they want to make friends. They're curious who are these people who are visiting, and we now feel that we have a long-term relationship. Like, for example, this girl right here from Grenada that we've been in contact for already a couple of years, and we truly spent time together. We were blessed to visit her brother's 16th birthday, and it was just like a lot of great time, and you learn of their cultures in a more personal way. And this is from Turks and Caicos. Again, we went to the church, made a really good friends with the pastor there, and going there for a few Sundays, all of a sudden asked us, "Oh, do you ride horses? Do you want to have a tour of the island on a horse?" It's great accent, but it's very unique.
So enjoyable.
And the boarders love to come and the locals love to come and visit us on the boat sometimes too, when they come and try to swim and understand our culture. So it's a very unique experience. And because we're not most of the time on a super crazy timeline that we need to leave next Saturday, we can spend a little bit more time and meet with them a few times and truly learn their culture, what worries them, what makes them happy. And you can see that people are people everywhere, and we find so much in common with people, and it's very fun to see a little bit of the differences.
It's fabulous. Yeah.
Also, so far we've been talking only about what's above the water. What's below the water can also be phenomenal. Like scuba diving is really exciting. Both Alona and I have about over 40 dives already, which is just incredible. We're so lucky that we were able to learn. And just when it comes to even the statues that you find underwater, it can be so exciting, not to mention all of the sharks and the turtles and the rays as well. Like for example, that dive was in the Caribbean. There was a whole sunken ship that
By
they had
Peter Island.
by
Yeah.
Peter Island that they had decorated with tons of different skeleton statues and pirate statues. And Alona could even pretend to walk the plank 60 feet underwater. So there's just so much fun to do. And of course, as well, land exploration can be really great, even if we're just by ourselves, with all of the different activities that we can do, biking and exploring and walking on the beach as well. There are so many different places and different types of mountains, and every place is just so different, but it never gets old. It never gets tiring because we just keep on expanding our minds more and more as we travel more and more and see more and more wonders of the world.
Yeah.
So that's it.
That
Of
concludes our presentation, and now we're open for questions.
I see this as a great form to share your story in a seminar format. How do you tell your story in short social media form? And how do you get good at telling that story visually?
Thank you so much for the question. It's kind of funny story, maybe a little bit. We were not ready for that. We discussed when we moved on the boat, do we want to do it? Because we got
something on YouTube.
inspired by a lot of families who shared on YouTube, but we thought it's a little bit too much work. We really don't want to do it. And then there's two more daughters for us. They're older and they lived independently in LA. And our second daughter, she was 21 at the time. 3 years ago, she visited and she said, "Why don't you start on TikTok?" And both Grant and I were like, "What's TikTok?" And but she kind of started it for us, and she started funny little videos, and she come up with her idea what just makes sense on our boat, and that's how we share what about our life. And when she was with us just for about few months at the time, by the time that she left, we already had about 20,000 followers, and at that time we had the decision, are we going to continue or not? And Anastasia mainly come up, let's try to do it. And so we're doing basically what we try to do, take a snippet on our life and share it, and just a little bit. And what we do, we don't share everything. We do pick and choose, you know. But we do try to show a like true picture, you know. We share sometimes of our frustration and sometimes, you know, all the enjoyments of the boat life. But the social media kind of happened to us. I don't know if it's helpful or not.
Yeah, I always thought it was a lot of fun to do video editing. Before that, I was constantly taking videos of where we were going and writing journals to remember all of the facts. I've always liked to be a little historian and to remember all of the history of the places and the cultures as well. So when it came to starting to do it in a visual format, it was very exciting for me because I just write the script, I put the videos in place, and it's a little short packet of the experience that we had. And so it's a lot of fun, and it's a great way to store up our memories. And
so that's a main focus of our TikToks when we're doing. We try to capture our life, and usually before this kind of format, you know, you go to a hike and you end up with an hour of footage of the video, and nobody goes and look through that hour. But once you spend a little bit of time, edit it together, and we have 2.5 minutes of it, it's very possible to go and look through that, and it's a concise version of it. It's easy to send to family and friends, and also to maintain as a memory. So that kind of, we looked at it, it's a memory preservation for us, and then we also decided to share it with the world.
Yeah, people are very curious on what it is like to be on the boat, because most people live on land and can't really conceptualize what it is like to be on the boat. So we usually pick one or two things, one or two aspects about boat life to cover in a short video. And when you have lots of videos with little aspects, you can get a more complete picture of what it is like to be on a boat. So that is how we sort of share what our life is with other people.
Yeah.
Yep.
Great question.
Thank you.
you.
Thank you for the question.
What's one of your favorite places that you have been to? And what's your next dream destination to sail to?
So, favorite place and dream destination?
Oh, I have a dream destination. A few of them actually, most of them in Asia. So I want to be in Japan, the Philippines. I'm not. I want to visit India. Um, I just want to go to Africa at some point.
Yeah.
Just to, be in Africa, and it's such a large continent with so many different cultures inside, and I know almost nothing about it. So I really want to go there and learn, just like I've been learning a lot more about Polynesia. You really, by going somewhere and living among the people, you learn a lot about not just the culture and the mythology of way back when, but also what it is like now in the current times.
Yeah. But what's your favorite place that you've been to?
There's so many.
I know mine.
Okay.
Well, I love all over, but Galapagos will always have a favorite place in my heart because sea lions would come onto our boat. They would jump onto our couches, actually. And I spent my birthday there, my 16th birthday. And it was so special because 3 days after my birthday, we were scuba diving. And I just turn around and I look, and 6 hammerhead sharks pass. Then I turn and look another way, and there are 4 spotted eagle rays just swimming around. So it was so
And the
special.
turtle bumped into
Turtle bumped into my face. So just the boat life is so special, and Galapagos had amazing wildlife. The plant life is different than what I've seen anywhere else. There were all these mosses growing on the trees that had a different texture than what I'd seen. So and cacti, and I was very, very fascinated. And then the people there as well, they all spoke Spanish, but they had such a kind heart. And especially I got to practice my languages with them. Like
Yes.
someone would come to work on the boat and we'd just sit and talk for hours and understand each other, which was awesome.
Yeah, she learned Spanish and I learned French because those are very widely used languages in the Caribbean.
Yeah,
So,
and
as part
in
of
French
school.
Polynesia.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, but for where I want to go, I am not sure.
I am not
I'll
sure.
have to. Oh, I would
we
love
have
to.
2 halves of the question.
Yeah, I would love to just see everywhere.
Yes.
That's a very broad answer.
So for me, I love scuba diving, snorkeling. We went to Tuamotus, which is one of the archipelago in French Polynesia, but we didn't spend a whole lot of time there. So I would like to go back, and there is something called Wall of Sharks. It's actually at the entrance of Fakarava South Pass. We were right there, but the weather wasn't good for us to snorkel, to scuba dive. But that would be something that I would love to still explore. I did want to go to Easter Island. It's still on my to go list, but I don't know if we will take our boat there or not. But it's fascinating. One of the things that I love is coming to an island or a country on a boat. You have a completely different experience than when you land on a plane or when you drive. Like, for instance, when I remember this was spectacular. We are going into St. Lucia and we're coming up, and there is this tall mountains with the forest, and it looks as if it's just a continuous mountain. And then you kind of come close, and there is a little river, and you come into that river, and suddenly this beautiful bay, Marigot, is opening up with little town inside. It was just absolutely magnificent, magical. So,
or when you're going on the boat and you're entering in, and little locals come with you on canoes, and they just ride behind your boat on canoes and they wave at you. It's
so
like
cool.
you can't get that in an airplane.
Yeah.
So what about you, Mama?
Oh my gosh. I love different islands for different reasons. And for example, St. Martin was my favorite place for live music. It was just so magical. But the nature of St. Lucia and Dominica and kind of a little bit more wild of it, it truly was spectacular. And of course, We didn't go to Bahamas, but we had a little bit of taste in Turks and Caicos for their beaches. That's like the
White
most
sand
white
beach.
sand beach, absolutely amazing.
All the coral.
The special place for me Grenada has for its people, because somehow it's a small nation, but the hospitality is just amazing. So in French Polynesia, I'm so impressed by people here and their hospitality and how giving they are and how amazingly welcome they are. And it's just like really, really special. And yeah, and the dream destination, I would like to visit Asia probably, if it's possible
Thailand.
on a boat. Yeah,
Yes, Thailand. That's the one I forgot.
Yeah.
Food tour in
Thank you.
Thailand. Thank you for the question.
How many COVID tests have you had to do during your trip?
You say COVID test and my nose already burns. So thank you.
in that first year and a half, it was every single island, required us. And on top of it, not only you come with the test, they would make you quarantine,
Some of
which
them.
was quite, it's like you come to the island and you spend at that time it was a couple of days coming, and then you still need to sit 2 weeks on the boat and you're not allowed to go on land. By the time that we got to their islands, it was already July, August. They already had a little bit of the system of how you can order online, and they will
Bring
be
you
designated
groceries.
place on land that you allow to come in, and they come and they leave you bags there. And we could
Groceries.
swim around the boat. We hear horror stories when people even could not do that. So yeah,
Yeah. And people who would test you, some of them didn't know how to test you. So one
Oh,
guy in
gosh.
St. Lucia shoved the right up. I mean, our eyes were red for 2 days after that. It was that bad. Remember?
Yeah.
That's over.
That's over. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, since you've been living at sea for about 5 years now, how many more years do you think you'll be doing this for? Or is it unknown at this point?
So it's kind of, we're at the point that our parents are getting older, and our two oldest daughters are thinking of having kids. So we are contemplating to go back and forth between land life and boat life. So we did put our boat on the market, but it's to see if it will sell or not, because it would be the cleanest would be to sell the boat and just move back to land and then
Yeah.
deal with consequences. Because I'm sure we would love to do it again.
So maybe
Yeah.
we
You
should
know,
buy another
or
boat.
we just
Yeah.
figure out how to keep the boat and go between
Yeah.
boats. The issue with where we are is there is the cyclone seasons,
Yeah.
and then the insurance doesn't allow you to go to west of 150
Meridian.
meridian, and then so we kind of need to know how do we go back, come back, move the boat to another location. Like the next good stop would be Fiji, for example. So we would go to Cook Islands, Samoa, possibly hit Tonga, and then go to Fiji or something like that would be great, because Fiji has a couple of good protected bays that insurance would recognize. After Fiji, we would continue going west, maybe go towards north of Australia, and then go to Indonesia. So that would be the next round trip. And then we also need to figure out, the girls, once we go back to land, probably it will be good for the girls to have at least for
Yeah.
Alona, to have a good year at
At
college
So
and meet people that she's
yeah, so to answer your question, we'll either move back very soon when we sell the boat, or I will be going back in like 2-3 years so I can have some years properly at college in person, or whenever my older sisters have kids.
Yeah.
This is truly remarkable. This lifestyle is truly amazing. Seriously.
What would be your best piece of advice to anyone that wants to make a transition and start the sailing lifestyle?
So a couple of things. Number one, for me, it's theory is important. Practice is also important, but we jumped in with a little bit of practice, and I think for our family that was the best move. We did not sit and wait for the opportune moment to do it. That was really cool. Number two, we did not realize how much repairs would be on the boat. Our boat was 1 year old, and yet every few days something breaks, every few days something stops working. So if you have the skills to solve those kind of issues, it will be more
Very helpful.
But again, if you're not afraid of work, you're on the
And
boat,
YouTube
and
becomes
yeah,
your best friend.
yes.
YouTube, yes.
So many times. Okay, how do we deal with this? And you go and you try to find some information, and it's amazing what you can find on YouTube right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Another huge improvement in our life was Starlink. Prior to Starlink, it was really, really difficult. We had to, anytime I would get to an island, I would have to run around, buy SIM cards,
Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi, etc. Now we have Starlink, we have internet everywhere we go. So it's very easy to find information if you need it. So that was right now it's much easier than even 3 or 4 years ago to do this live.
Yeah, but you definitely should be willing to learn, because whenever you move on the boat, no matter how prepared you feel or you think that you are, you will have so many challenges. You will have to grow as an individual, or if you're doing it with other people, you will have to grow as a team. So don't wait until you fully feel like you have everything figured out before you even try. Sometimes just getting a good base work, but not being afraid of challenges is the way to go, or else you won't ever start on the
Yeah.
journey.
It is definitely a challenging lifestyle. You are a lot of the time outside of your comfort zone, so you cannot be afraid of that.
It's comfortable to be outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah, but
But it's
your comfort zone does grow as you
absolutely,
gain
absolutely, and
experience.
it's so rewarding uh, to see how much we've grown, and then the experiences that we've learned, and also very important. Um, During our travels, Grant came up with a slogan that it became really big in our family about their knowing the difference between disaster and inconvenience. So
Yes.
why
Yes,
don't you share?
yeah. I was a business owner and everything was a disaster for me. Something happens in the business world, it's a disaster. Now I know, as long as we're floating, everybody's
full on the boat.
as long as everybody's on the boat, everything else is an inconvenience. Your sail rips, it's an inconvenience. You have backups. Your water maker is not working, inconvenience. It's like that was a big lesson for us, for me.
And that's
At least.
perspective change that, when you look at it, your attitude is the biggest thing. So, and then when it's inconvenient, you find the way how to fix your situation, but it's not a disaster when you're in panic and you become frozen and you cannot deal with the problem. Also, it was very interesting for us coming from the business world, if something approaches you, you jump into the problem right away and you move fast. But we actually have learned, and we have another slogan, which slow is the pro.
Slow is pro.
Slow is pro, because it's actually better to move slow. And if something happened, you take a second to analyze the situation, create a quick plan how to dive in and deal with it, then just jump in and dive in, and then you'll create a bigger problem sometimes with the faster moves than if you take a second, analyze it, and then slowly fix it.
Yeah. Slow is pro, I think, is from American Sailing Association. We did not
Actually.
create that one. We did not come up with that. We did not take credit.
You have a lovely family, and congratulations on your lifestyle. Here are my questions. If there was one thing you would have done differently during your journey, what would it be? And the second one is, when you look at one another during these beautiful moments, do you look at one another and say, "Oh my gosh, I'm so glad she's experiencing this"?
Sometimes there is definitely we'll be scuba diving and I'll see an eel and I'm like, oh, look. So it's not a conscious, I'm so glad they're here experiencing this. It's more of either I think this person would really like this certain thing I'm looking at, or I'm really glad that they're here with me. Like I am.
So you don't have a favorite?
I no. Well, maybe. I mean, we're special, but she's my little sister. We've been almost like twins our whole life, so it's extra special to have her here
Yeah.
with me on this adventure. But I've also grown to really like sharing these experiences with my parents, because and we haven't mentioned this before, but he's the captain and I'm the first mate. So we'll be the ones at the helm, making decisions on sails. And
she's really good. She feels the boat. She's
Yeah.
like, Pop, you need to release the main sheet.
yeah, but I really love I like discussing things with him and being his soundboard, and he'll be my soundboard, and just making decisions together. I do enjoy that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And about what we would do differently,
Mm.
nothing comes to mind. It's actually very surprising.
I have
You know,
something.
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes. When we got on the boat, I could have been a little bit of a control freak. I
Yes.
feel like we all wanted to have the plans laid out and to follow the schedule and to never have any delays. But the boat life brings so many unexpected things where your plan completely gets thrown out the window because of a new development or a new delay. So I wish I had to learn how to go with the flow, which I'm very glad that I learned it. But if I had that already at the beginning, it would have been a lot easier.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. And I have something
What?
to mention about
What?
why I'm particularly happy that Alona is with me on the boat, because my parents are my best friends. I think I love talking with them, and they take interest in my interests, which is amazing.
Mhm.
But for Alona specifically, I grew up sharing a room with her, and we were always together. So I'm so happy that she's here with me. And when there was one time where I was on the boat without her. She flew to California to have prom, actually.
It
She
was
was gone
awesome.
for 1 week, and I remember when she left, I was crying in the car. I missed her so much. And so I'm very happy that she's on the boat with me.
I think for me, it's very unique to have the girls with us. I think we created such an incredible experience. However, what's made it even more special, when we bought the boat, we purposely bought it with the extra cabin because we could get a master cabin when Grant and I would have a bigger room, but we decided to buy the ones that had a guest cabin, and that's allowed us to bring so many relatives, like as was shown in the presentation. Basically, our parents came, our brothers came, the cousins, some of the friends, and it's turned into such a special moment and deepened our relationship, because now we have this memories of exploring, learning, challenges, because people come, you never know what kind of weather is going to be, you never know how it's all planned out. So you it's not your normal vacation when you go on the resort. So, and it's a little bit of the trial, and you see how your team reacts, how your guests react, and it's really, really special. So, yeah.
Thank you for the question. That
Great
was
question.
a
Hope it
fabulous one.
answers the question. Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us today and taking time out of your travels to share your story with us. I can't wait to hear more of it through your social media. I think you have an Instagram, a YouTube page, and a TikTok. What's your handle in case some of us in the room want to check out you guys after this?
So on TikTok, we're Sweet Life on Song of the Sea.
Like Sweet
G
Life on
family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On Instagram, we're Song of the Sea 2020. And then on YouTube, we have a very small YouTube because we just started it, but it's also
it's
called
the Song
Song
of
of the
the
Sea. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're just so thankful that you asked us to be here. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for listening to our story.
Yeah.
And
This was
And
awesome.
good luck to all of you. Dream big dreams, work on them, and it is challenging and out of your comfort zone, but it's definitely worth it. And good luck to all of you, and hope to see you somewhere on the
On the
oceans,
water.
on the beautiful beaches of the world.
Yeah. God bless you guys.
Bye.